The series that has captured our hearts with its vibrant aesthetics and peculiar characters is now facing a challenge that could change its destiny forever. We're talking about censorship, shifts in direction, and an uncertain future for Pomni, Jax, and the entire digital circus. Today we're diving deep into the shocking problems Glitch Productions is encountering with giants like Netflix and YouTube, and what all of this could mean for the highly anticipated episode 7. Is the series on the verge of cancellation, or will Gooseworx creativity find a way to shine despite the adversities? Well, we'll find out in... With the launch of episode 6 of the Amazing Digital Circus, the fan community not only reveled in new adventures and iconic moments, but also witnessed a series of rather curious, not to mention troubling events. Without a doubt, the most impactful of these is the growing censorship problem plaguing the series on both Netflix and YouTube, its two primary distribution platforms. Let's start with Netflix. It didn't take long for Eagle White fans to notice a significant absence. The latest episodes of the series simply weren't available on the platform. We should remember that Glitch Productions had struck a rather ambitious deal with Netflix to stream the series almost simultaneously with its YouTube release. However, to the surprise of many, you can currently only watch up to episode 4. This situation, as strange as it is, has set off alarm bells throughout the community. Suspicions intensified thanks to a series of tweets from the creator herself, Gooseworx, who has hinted that the Amazing Digital Circus is grappling with serious censorship issues. This has led many to believe that Netflix, finally realizing that the series isn't precisely designed for a child audience despite its animated and colorful style, has chosen not to publish the most recent chapters. The reason is simple. The content of these episodes likely clashes directly with their strict guidelines for animation. And let's be honest, with the themes explored in the latest chapters, this situation only gets more complicated. It's not just the constant use of weapons throughout the episode, which, while presented with a touch of humor, still represents a point of contention. The series is beginning to explore much darker and more mature territories. Consider Jax's heartbreaking anxiety attack, or the deep trauma Gangle has accumulated due to Jax's constant bullying. Although this behavioral pattern has been evident since the inception of the series, it's in the most recent episodes that we finally witness the devastating real-world consequences of this persistent mistreatment. The superficial joy of the circus crumbles, revealing the internal scars of its inhabitants. This leads us to a disturbing conclusion. The digital circus from this point forward seems destined to face even more censorship issues. And we can't forget that Gooseworx has expressed her intention to delve deeper and deeper into serious and complex problems, using satire and humor as tools to explore these facets of digital existence. However, this approach isn't to everyone's liking, especially not to major platforms like Netflix and YouTube. Their content policies are becoming increasingly strict, and these types of themes often create conflicts with brands and the advertising they seek to place, directly impacting revenue streams. Furthermore, YouTube in particular is constantly revising its rules, becoming more rigorous in these matters, and unfortunately, often limiting the creative freedom of countless content creators and artists who seek to earn a living on their platform. But now that we've touched on this particular topic, it's time to fully dive into... While the Netflix situation represents a significant challenge for Glitch Productions, especially considering the benefits a deal with such a large company could bring in terms of profit and publicity to fund future projects, the truth is, this might not be their biggest concern. The primary platform for each episode's release and the main source of their income has always been YouTube. For the initial episodes, publishing was relatively smooth and without major hiccups. However, it's highly probable that starting with episode 5, the situation began to tighten. While this wasn't the most serious or controversial chapter in the dramatic sense, it does feature some scenes that, under YouTube scrutiny, could be deemed problematic. Think, for example, of the entire President Pomni sequence, a parody that, while hilarious, involved moralized chaos. Despite giving us some great comedic moments, we can't deny that these are delicate subjects for YouTube's content policies. But what happened with episode 6 took things to another level. Almost at the beginning of the episode, a rather peculiar line from Zubul, where she mentions to Kane her desire for the ability to have sex, raised red flags. That scene, which for fans was just another moment of the circus's eccentricity, became embroiled in controversy. Gooseworx, the mastermind behind the series, quickly took to Twitter to mention that this line was not supposed to be censored. It was YouTube that forced them to modify it. adding curiously that this censorship seemed to only apply in America, a detail that undoubtedly raises more questions than answers about the application of these regulations. And this was just a beginning. Throughout the chapter, firearms are used constantly and without discretion to attack each other. Cartoonish violence, yes, but it appears to have clashed with YouTube and Netflix's standards for an animated series. And the escalation didn't stop there. Scenes exploring trauma intensified, such as Gangle's aforementioned confession of repressed traumas, which finally explode to the surface, or the entire sequence between Jax and Pomni, which allows us to glimpse Jax's true thoughts and the complex reasons behind his behavior, revealing deep-seated fears of forming genuine connections with people, purposefully pushing them away through cruel humor and questionable actions, with the mistaken belief that he will thus avoid suffering when he inevitably loses them. All this repression and self-deception from Jax, as expected, push him to the brink of collapse. We witness it almost at the end of the chapter, with a panic attack that is quite explicit and difficult to watch, leaving us with the unsettling feeling that he's on the verge of abstraction. All these situations, despite being extremely serious and complex themes, seem to be just the tip of the iceberg of what awaits us in the upcoming chapters of the Digital Circus. With each new episode, the creator delves deeper and deeper into this style of mature and exploratory narrative. All of this leads us to a flood of doubts about the future of the series. Therefore, it's time to start theorizing and move on to... Everything we've discussed leaves us with a huge question mark regarding what's coming in the next chapters. However, despite the multiple instances of censorship, it's unlikely the series will be cancelled. The reason is simple, yet powerful. The Amazing Digital Circus boasts an immense fan community that has grown exponentially since the pilot episode's launch, eagerly awaiting every new piece of content that the Amazing Digital Circus has to offer. Furthermore, the immense affection and passion that both its creator, Gooseworx, and the entire Glitch Productions team have for the series offer us a certain relief. This makes us firmly believe that the series will continue. The big unknown isn't if it will continue, but how. This is where the real concern arises. Will this whole censorship situation limit the original ideas Gooseworx had planned for the upcoming chapters? Could she be forced to restrict the themes explored, delivering a different story than what she initially conceived? An alteration of the creative direction could be a hard blow to the series' artistic vision. This is a worrying path because, in the end, there's no easy solution or right way. We're faced with two unfavorable scenarios. On one hand, limiting creativity due to censorship, which could dilute the essence and message Gooseworx wants to convey. On the other hand, keeping the original ideas intact, but at the cost of drastically limiting the revenue the series could generate, which in turn would reduce the budget for future Glitch Productions projects. Neither of these two options sounds particularly pleasant, I know. However, all that's left is to wait and see what plans Glitch Productions and Gooseworx will implement to face this complex problem. If we consider the attitude of its creator, which she constantly shows us across all her social media, she appears to be an incredibly creative person with an overflowing passion for the project she undertakes. This allows us to feel more at ease, trusting that every effort will be made to bring the series to life exactly as she envisioned it, one way or another. And let's not forget the constant support and unwavering confidence that Glitch Productions has placed in the series. After all, the Amazing Digital Circus is the project that has brought them the most recognition from the general public. With these factors at play, we can hope that this whole situation will find a resolution. So all that's left for us is to eagerly await the much anticipated release of episode 7 to see what new craziness, what traumatic events, and what unexpected twists this amazing series will bring us.